Good evening, everybody. Welcome here as we get set for the fifth race of the season for the ERL MegaDriver86 series. I'm Seth Colbean, joined this week by Bronson Stafford. And Bronson, last week, after a wild race at Sebring, I think I speak for the majority of the field. I think they're very happy to be back at an oval.
Yeah, for sure. Sebring was a wild race, a wild track, and very different than most road courses that you'll ever see a stock car go to. So I definitely think it's nice for them to be back in a comfort zone and back in an oval such as ISM.
We are here today at the ISM for not one, but two races. These drivers not only going to have to battle the heat of the track, but the heats that we are going to have today. Two races, 50 laps apiece. And I kind of, coming into this race, looked at this as an opportunity. We already know that Chad Frankenfield would win at Sebring, Tyler Riggs with 2 wins this season, and Kendall Noah Player win at Pocono. They've already locked themselves into the playoffs. But with 2 opportunities to take a checkered flag today, you got to think, a lot of the drivers in the rest of the field, they're looking at this as a prime opportunity to be able to pick up a victory and get themselves a playoff spot.
Yeah, and I mean, like you were saying, a doubleheader race that just gives double the chance, really, for what is effectively a really honestly, it's a pretty racy track. I think ISM's a good track to come to after a road course, and you'll probably still see the same guys that were good at a road course good here, but I definitely think it opens up the window a lot more for people to get in and, get themselves into a playoff spot.
Also going to be interesting too, because I saw a lot of drivers in practice run a lot of different lines, especially over in turns 1 and 2. Some drivers running up above the yellow line, a lot of drivers using the apron down below the yellow line. But the one thing I saw a lot of drivers screaming for was grip entering the corners. So you think we're going to see them take it easy, at least early on with the colder tires, not a whole lot of grip, wait till those tires warm up? Or how aggressive do you think we're going to see them in the first maybe 5-10 laps of this race, knowing there's only 50 laps in each one of these heats?
I really think with only a 50-lap race, you don't have time to take it easy. You can maybe try and save the tires a little bit in the get-go, but 50 laps around a track like this, it goes pretty quick. It's only, a mile in length, and it's hot. Track position will be pretty important, especially since as the tires do get hotter, and the track temp's 115 right now, and there's not even a lot of cars on it. It's going to get slick. It's going to be hard to pass. You're 50 laps, you're going to want to push for it and, try and hold on to any spots you can get.
Is, though, you're not going to want to push too hard, because we have seen drivers that have raced aggressively in the past couple of weeks get hit with points penalties. Most recently, Joshua Clark got hit with a points penalty after we saw the incident between him and Leniger last week at Sebring. So, yeah, kind of, you want to get there to the front, but you don't want to wreck somebody getting there to the front. Currently, top of the board here in qualifying. It looks like qualifying may actually be over already. I believe Ethan Burrell is up there top of the leaderboard. He was not really up there towards the top, at least late in practice, but you got to think that after a consistent run back at Richmond, a pretty good run last week at Sebring, he's got the momentum going to possibly someone to look at as a favorite, at least in maybe not both, at least one of these heat races.
Yeah, anyone that qualifies towards the top in general, I think, should be pretty given as a favorite. Just like I said, I think it's gonna be hard to pass with how hot it is. It's really really hot out there, and it's only gonna get hotter.
Other names that we saw up there at the top of the leaderboard include Damian Leniger, Dallas Myhand was up there, Gerald Campbell, who we saw pull off some pretty good pit strategy last week for a top 5 run at Sebring, and another driver that was up there as well that we haven't seen since Richmond, and that was Joshua L. Adams. We saw him actually up in the top 5 in the Richmond race, ran into some kind of issues, fell a couple laps down, and then DNF from that race. So it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table here in his second start of the season. And then when you think about, too, we talked about Frankenfield, Kendall Noah Player, and Tyler Riggs. They've all locked themselves into the playoffs. They've got nothing to lose. They can go out there, try and pick up another win, try and gain some more playoff points.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the good things about coming into a doubleheader night locked in already is, you can just go for it. It's 50 laps. It's short. You might make some people angry, but it's such a short race. What does it matter?
So it's going to go on by here. We'll show you the starting lineup here for this race. To show the drivers that took time. There were a couple of drivers that did not take time here, so you will not be seeing them on the starting grid. Ethan Burrow, along with Chad Frankenfield, your front row, with the victory last week. Ethan Burrow looking for his first win on the season. I'm pretty certain, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty certain that they probably, with it being heat races, they probably will not have to come to pit road for fuel. Some drivers, if we get cautions, might come to pit road for tires, especially if they're mid-pack towards the rear of the field.
Yeah, as we see, we're under green here now, and Ethan Barrow already out to a good lead on Chad Frankenfield, but he is going to take it to him, the last week's winner. So, again, nothing to lose for him there, and see if he can get the top spot and just run away with it like he did last week.
I ultimately failed on the controls there. But, yep, right now you got a two-car fight at the front of the field. Toyota versus Ford. Ryan Lutz right there behind as well. We're trying the top side, the 31 of Gerald Campbell. Not certain if we're going to see a high line here today. And we're already under our first caution. And, well, that answers the question. There is no high line, at least not right now, not early on.
I actually think he got help from the 88 there.
Campbell's going to bring out the first yellow flag after a good qualifying effort. He'll find himself at the rear of the field. Let's go back and see what happened to him.
I think looking back at it, Seth, it looks like he was trying to come down through the dog leg, and the 88 wasn't going to go down quite as far as maybe the 31 thought he would, and just kind of kept coming down onto it. Now, some people do like to cut it, some people don't, and I think that's just two cars going for the same spot.
Go look here and see what happened. As both of them coming out of... I think you're exactly right. And it's so difficult because, especially on that dogleg front straightaway, they can go 4, 5, 6 different lanes, so it's hard to know if you're clear on a car that's to your left. 31 did not hit the wall, so that is at least a good thing for him. Didn't make any contact, so I think he will be okay. The bad thing for him is he lost all of that track position.
Yeah, they're lucky they both got away with it there. They're both down on pit road getting some tires. You know what, though? That honestly, maybe that might help them. A couple laps on these tires, 3, 4 laps. That might be all the difference they need if it can go green from the end. That's a good couple tenths it can be in conditions like these. So we'll have to see if the 88 and 31 can make their way back up through the field in such a short event.
Couple of drivers you mentioned too coming to pit road along with the 31 of Jared Campbell. It'll be also interesting to see if tires really do matter here. I mean, this is definitely a race with a win on the line, but it also could be a little bit of a learning opportunity for drivers. See about things that they can apply in the second heat. One thing that they could apply is see if coming to pit road under an early caution, getting tires, maybe being able to work their way up through to the front of the field in the closing stages might be something they want to have in the back of their mind for the second heat.
That's very true. That's the nice thing about a doubleheader with 2 wins on the line. You can spend that first race and just experiment around 2 tires, 4 tires, see what happens, see how important track position is or not. But the lights are out on the pace car. Looks like we're going to be restarting already.
Then Burrow's going to take that inside line, putting Frankenfield on the outside of the front row with Ryan Lutz and Jared Rexing row 2. Damian Leniger and Tate Lytle will make up row 3. Looking back through the field, we got David Tooker coming off back-to-back second place finishes back in 16th. A couple of former winners this season, Tyler Riggs 14th and Kendall Noah Player in 16th. We'll see if they make their way up here to the front, because if we're at a normal track, we'd be going green right here. However, they've still got an entire half the racetrack to go before we get to the restart zone with the way they've reconfigured ISM.
Well, actually, they're green already. I don't think iRacing has that reconfigure yet, Seth.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yep, I'm very unfamiliar with iRacing, so I didn't realize that was actually... So I thought start finish line was on the...
iRacing is still the pre-this year ISM Raceway. Apologies for that confusion there. But yeah, Ethan Barrow out to a good little jump again on Chad, just like the last restart. We have to see if that continues or if it's just maybe he's just getting a better launch, if that's how much better the inside line is or what. But they're side by side for third.
Definitely are. Jared Rexing on the bottom, Ryan Lutz on the top side. Tate Lytle right there as well. Looks like the 10 might clear for third. He's going to cut that dog leg. Oh, man. Talk about a crossover. How close can you get between the 10 and the 46?
Yeah, that's one of the fun things with this track, that move right there. You can go into the dog leg, cross them over, get switched off from top to bottom. This track is a lot of fun, especially when the cars are hooked up. Unfortunately for the 46, it looks like it's actually going to end up hurting them, and now the 56 is outside for fourth position.
Right there as well, the 12 of Leniger waiting in the wings. Andrew Rucker, who was bouncing off everybody last week at Sebring, up there in 7th place. As it looks like now top 3, top 4 get single file. Best battle now is going to be for the 5th spot. 46 continuing to drop back as now Leniger has him under fire.
Yeah, there's a lot of names right now in that top 5, 6 that were either up front last week or running into issues. So it'll be interesting to see how this race progresses for sure. And speaking of one of the guys from last week, Damien Leniger, like you were saying, right there outside the top 5, but looking for it. He was in a fair share of some incidents last week. See if any tempers boiled over from there or not. But you know, he's right outside the top 5, looking for it.
They talked about some of those guys that ran well last week. They reaped the rewards of coming to this race running really well in points too. As we look at the point stands coming to this, I actually thought last week, and it was my error, I thought that with winning the race that Chad Frankenfield had taken the points lead away from Tyler Riggs coming to this race. I was incorrect. Riggs still has the points lead, 5 points over Frankenfield. Ethan Burrow leading this race. He's 3rd in points. Then it's Tate Lytle and Rishabh Kosla are top 5. They're starting to get spread out in the points now as we progress more into the season. Kendall Noah Player 6th. David Tooker on back-to-back runner-ups in 7th. Vincent Isabella and Andrew Rucker tied for 8th. And right now Joshua Clark sits by his lonesome in 10th place. But we're seeing a couple of those drivers, as mentioned, like Rucker up here towards the front of the field, Tate Lytle. So you got to think, you know, it's been a consistent start to the season, but now they want that W.
Oh yeah, for sure. Starting the season on a nice consistent note's always good, but you definitely always want to win. It looks like Chad's maybe starting to catch the 37 here for the lead, little by little. I think he's a little bit quicker. And speaking of that, his teammate seems a little bit quicker than Jared for 3rd as well. So I think that team again this week are just looking really, really strong on about after 5-10 laps on pace.
Right there is Ethan Burrow almost completely down on the yellow line. Frankenfield ran about a half groove higher, almost at the top line of that dark area where the tires and rubbers laid down in turns 1 and 2. So he's trying to get the exit off the corner and get that straightaway speed as the caution's out 2nd time today.
Looks like it's the 41 car towards the back of the pack.
Plus Myhand, who came into this one running just outside the top 10 in the point standings. Don't see a lot of damage in that car, so he may have gotten away with another maybe solo car spin like we saw earlier with the 31.
I just watched it back. He just entered 3 a little bit too quick and got sideways and kept it off the wall. No damage, but it did unfortunately bring out a yellow.
And Dallas had qualified for this race. I believe it was up around the 12th position. What happened to him in just a moment. I'm looking here at his entry into the corner, and it looked good. Although I have to say, I saw a lot of this. The drivers looked like they were very steady going through the corner, and then all of a sudden, rear end just comes out from underneath them. You see it right there. Just no grip with the rear tires. Goes into a slide. Correct it, and yep, they had to throw a caution for that, facing the wrong way, and had the 72 of Brent Wetz coming in there pretty hot. Almost got hit by him. Brent was able to get on the brakes.
Quick note here, as I'm noticing, just looking at it, everyone's come down pit road except for one car. But right before pit stops here, remember that first caution with the 88 and the 31? The 88 of Joshua Adams was able to drive back up to 11th position in basically 10 laps on those fresher tires. So he gained about 14 positions in 10 laps. So I think tires do mean something.
And that could very well be why we've got just about everyone on pit road here under this yellow flag. So, yeah, I think we've definitely figured out that tires mean something. That car that did not come to pit road is the 46 of Ethan Reasoner. My assumption is he's staying out, leading a lap, and he'll probably be on pit road this next time around. Okay, then again, maybe not.
Well, he didn't get the lap lead last time, so we'll have to see here. He was still triggered back, so... But it looks like lights are already out on the pace car. So...
If he does come to pit road, he'll be coming to pit road when we're back under green flag conditions.
Yeah, lights are out, and he is still pacing the field. This will be a really big thing right here. Maybe this is something he's testing for that second race, like we said. He's got 15 laps on the tires. How much slower is he going to be?
Be hoping for another caution to come out at some point, not lose too many positions, and have this be a strategy call that will gain him track position. But I don't know. I'd be kind of worried on a restart here going into turn 1, not knowing if that car is going to stay underneath me or not, especially when you got guys behind you on 4 fresh tires that are definitely going to be having a lot more grip underneath them going into the first couple corners.
As the pace car peels off. There you go. He took off nice and early. Good getaway. It looks like he's getting out of the way for everyone, though.
I think he wanted that lap lead, but he's saying, I'm not gonna get in your guys' way.
Oh yeah, he just pulled off to the high side. The 56 almost ran him over, but he's just getting out of the way. He got the way, and our original race leader just got spun down on the dogleg.
And the caution is out. Ooh, Ethan Burrell.
He kept it off the inside wall, just got spun around, but there goes that track position.
Yep. Came to pit road, got the 4 fresh tires, was up there in the front, and just like that, almost the same kind of thing that happened earlier on with the 31 of Jared Campbell up there at the front, and now you got to work your way back up through, and that's a tough break too, because I mean, he was looking like he was going to be a guy that could very well win this race. Now he's got a pretty tall task in front of him.
Interesting to note on that is just I watched it back real quick. The 15 as well of Chad Frankenfield, his nose has got some pretty good damage.
And that looked like another incident courtesy of the dog leg. Here coming off of turn 4. There you see, yeah, just again, not knowing there's a car down below you. Typical of this type of track too, where everybody is so spread out across somebody's nose, you don't know it until it's too late.
It looks like the pace car is giving the field some troubles here. That's not good. The caution's out, but the pace car is not left pit road, Seth.
Okay, well that's interesting. Looks like Tate Lytle, who right now is the race leader, trying to figure out where the pace car is at. And everything, and yet no pace car. Well, that's a new one for me.
I've actually never seen this happen myself, and I've been on this service for a good amount of 6 years now. And what do you do in this situation?
I'm not really sure. I mean, maybe the lights when they go out, it will actually have us go back green, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, this is
Tate Lytle's got to pace the field.
Yeah, this is throwing it back to some old school days of NR 2003 or even console games where you did your own cautions.
You see the pace car left side of your screen still sitting there. Huh.
I have to see if the lights...
Well...
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, my assumption is the lights, with them being on, will still go out. We'll have to wait and see when they make their way around here to the front straightaway. He's kind of spread out, staggered, trying to figure out what's going on. Nobody dares double up just yet.
Yeah, admins were just talking, saying that it looks like they're gonna have to do this old school or something. So it looks like they're going to that old school format, that old school format. But the only thing with it is, if it stays under yellow, I guess how would you really? I mean, there'll be a lot of black flag clearing.
I would certainly think so. Yeah.
Although I don't know. I guess technically you wouldn't get passing the pace cars under yellow. It's not on track, so you're not technically passing it. It's just
That would be true. Yeah.
yeah. This is very, very strange.
This has us perplexed, folks.
Yeah, this is different. This is definitely.
I think. Well, there is something going on because they went back green. I think at this point under the last caution, the lights were out. The lights are still on.
Yeah, the lights. Yeah, the lights are definitely on. From my knowledge of iRacing, is if there's two ways that it'll never go green: is if the pace car is in pit road, or if everyone is in pit road, like if there's no cars on track, kind of thing. So I think they're just gonna have to old school it and just race technically under the yellow and call out if there's a caution or not behind them, and you're gonna see it. Kind of like how they do road courses with admin-controlled cautions and whatnot. And to my knowledge, they do have an off-track though, so that should be easier to manage and navigate through.
Very interesting situations going on here. The good news is this is only the first heat, so maybe the second heat won't have this issue. But nonetheless, it's going to make it a little bit harder for us to be able to know if the caution is actually out or not.
Well, admin.
Now everybody's
admin
pulling down to the wall.
Yeah, Chad just came over, race control, telling the drivers to pull over and stop. It looks like they're gonna red flag while they try and figure out what they want to do here. And yeah, this is interesting.
This is very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. I know exactly what you're talking about the pace car glitches in Enter 2003, but I have never actually seen it happen over here on iRacing before.
Yeah, neither have I. This has completely caught me off guard. I mean, we know the similarities between the games, so I'm not surprised it's an issue that can arise, but I have never in 6 years seen this happen.
That kind of perplexes me is the glitch that I've seen over with Enter 2003 is usually something that looks like it should be a wreck the game doesn't throw a caution for. To my memory, casting it way back, I can't remember a time where a caution came out and the pace car actually never came off of pit road.
Yeah, I've definitely had it be the reverse, where either the pace car like doesn't go in.
Yeah, like I know there was a track in particular, Sonoma 2013 for Enter 2003 that came out, and you could never go green. It was constantly the yellow flag would come out and the pace car would stay out. So rolls here, reverse rolls here. Well, we'll keep you guys informed on what's going on. Looks like the 56 is rolling, so I don't know, have the admins been able to come up with anything here?
Yeah, Vic was just saying, I think that's the off track. He says he's gonna do manual yellows and restarts and all that. So this is different. We're throwing it back, some old school kind of run your own cautions and stuff like that. So I just wonder, I guess technically you wouldn't get penalized either, because the passing under the yellow doesn't actually give you a black flag until the green flag comes out. So it would really just be fielding it as they cross the line. And actually thinking about it, yeah, they can do this. They can totally race this out, and with the off-track admin watching for yellows and people calling it out, they can do it. But it's definitely more annoying, I'd say.
One thing I'm going to find interesting here, too, is I've seen so many times over in 2003, something that the game may throw a yellow for may not be something that necessarily somebody calling manual yellows would throw a caution for. Like, looking back at the spin we saw with, I believe it was Dallas Myhan, that normally wouldn't bring out a caution with manual yellows. So it'll be interesting to see if we have a solo spin like that where nobody's catching up to them, they've got time to recover, if that would actually bring a yellow flag out or not, with us having manual cautions and not the in-game yellows.
Yeah, that's very true, because I remember from NR 2003 League days, it was always 2 to 3 or more cars involved in an incident, so self spins were only ever a yellow if they spun and the field was coming up on them, kind of thing. So I believe this time by will be 1 to green, from what I heard on over the comms. So we'll have
We're
to
going
see
back
what's
green
going on
just
here.
nearing the halfway point, it looks like. Looks like we will go back green probably on lap 25, so right at the halfway point. 26 laps to go in this heat.
Yeah, they're doubling up this
We'll
time
be
by.
the
So we
race
are going
leader.
back green here,
Yep.
Seth. So I guess for anyone watching, go ahead and ignore the caution at the top of the board, and we're just we're doing manuals at this point due to a weird glitch with the iRacing service. Thankfully, it's only 25 laps, and we don't have to try and do this for another 125.
Exactly. I think we'll be able to have the ticker go back to green. It will not jump to yellow when a caution comes out. We'll have to let you guys know verbally if the yellow flag is out, because you guys will see the yellow lights continuing to flicker on the outside walls near the catch fence all the way around this racetrack. But as far as Ethan Reasoner, mission accomplished, got himself an early yellow. We didn't really see him fade back too terribly much, although he got the help of that wreck, and now he starts on the outside of the front row again here with Kate Lytle as they head for the start-finish line.
Yeah, they're coming green this time by, so... The 56 takes off, gets a good start against the 86, who still did not pit with those older tires, so we'll have to see how he hangs on here still, but this is really weird, Seth, but you know, they're racing, and that's all we're here to see.
Exactly. They're still racing, and we've still got an event going on here, and there's still a checkered flag at stake. So, all of the issues we're having here doesn't matter. Ryan Lutt's going to get to second, Andrew Rucker up to third. It'll be interesting to watch the progress of Ethan Burrell, who's up right now to the 19th position after we saw him have his issues early on. Chad Frankenfield back in 23rd. So we'll see if they can work their way up here to the front if we manage to go green the rest of the way. You mentioned about how the 15, the 56, this week and last week seemed to have very good long run speed.
Yeah, there's kind of a three-way battle for the lead forming right now between Tate Lytle, Ryan Lutz, and Andrew Rucker. They can't really get away from each other, and all three of them are Ford Mustangs, and they're going for it here. I really do think taking Ethan Barrell and Chad Frankenfield out of those top two spots, who were just kind of breaking away, I think this actually opens up the door even more for trying to get a win on this first heat.
As I look here at our top 10, only one of them a former winner, Tyler Riggs in 8th. So everybody else, if they win, it's their first checkered flag of the season. There's some slicing and dicing further back there as they're trying to get around the somewhat
46
slower
is around.
86 that we can read here. And there we go.
Caution flag is out.
Get going. Didn't completely spin out, or if he did, he somewhat saved it.
Sound like there's contact with the 64, so I'll have to go back and look and see what happened into turn one.
And if I'm not mistaken, he was another driver, like the 31, like the 37. He was running up inside the top 5.
Yeah, the 46 was right there in second position. Is it a curse
to be running up front here today or something?
Yeah, that's another guy directly from right there, and oh yeah, the 64 gets way too quick into turn one, just gets the left rear and spins the 46 around right in traffic.
Let's see what happened here. Had a little bit of a freeze on my end, which is why we didn't immediately go to the replay. Oh, yep. See what happens here between those two. Pretty tight racing here between the 56, the 46. A
couple of guys are staying out on track. The 15, the 3, and the 87 car all stay out on the track.
We know that Frankenfield had already been on pit road the last lap after last caution after getting involved in that wreck.
It looked like the 10 car took 2
Scott
tires.
Haney and the 87 Richard Hines. accident between the 64 and the 46, and that's another thing about ISM going into the corner. It's like the
So
64 of Rucker wanted to go in a little bit hotter into the corner than the 46 of Ryan Lutz did.
So just a quick update after they all came off of pit road here. 3 people did stay out. The 87 ended up coming the next time by, while the 15 and 3 are still on the racetrack. The 10 car of Jared Rexine took 2 tires and will be restarting 3rd. And then 4th on back with Tate Lytle and Damian Lineker, and 4th and 5th are on 4 tires. So we'll have to see that 2 tire versus 4 tires versus no tires now. They're really starting to go for it on strategies up front.
Field back on that last green flag run wasn't really working his way up towards the front, so maybe being back in traffic was the problem for him, staying out, getting that clean air on this restart. You mentioned about the fact he has that little bit of front end damage after the contact between himself and the 37, so we'll have to see how that comes into play. I think that wasn't live. No, it wasn't, but we just saw him almost run to the back of somebody, as looks like we got the 1 to green.
Yep, 1 to green here. They're doubling up. 15 of Chad Frankenfield's going to take the inside against the 3 of Scott Haney.
These drivers were running outside the top 20 when that last caution came out.
Yeah, that 10 car of Jared Rexine, who's been pretty much in the top 10 all day, took 2 tires to get up to 3rd position. Tate Lytle in the 56 was our leader, now in 4th with 4 tires. The 12 of Damian Lineker is 5th with 4 tires, and everyone else as well behind them. Joshua Adams is back to 6th. That's where he originally started before he had the issue with the 31 car.
Tyler Riggs, Austin Beers, Stephen McGough, Logan Simmons up here in the top 10. Some names we haven't talked about today as we get closer to 20, or we're in within 20 laps to go now. Starting to make their way up here towards the front.
Coming to green, pace car is in per admins, and the 15 takes off really well. Gets going, the 10 is to the inside of the 3 already. So I think that 3 car is going to get swallowed up here on no tires. The 10 is already clear for 2nd.
3 wide into turn 1. Got Lineker on the bottom, Lytle in the middle. It's Adams up the top side. He's going to split the middle down, going down the back straightaway.
This is those fun things. You get inside 20 laps to go, you go for it. Josh Adams, though, stuck on the outside. He's going to lose the spot to the 12 car of Damian Lineker. But, you know, that 3 car has already dropped back from 2nd to basically, what, 9th or 10th position. So if you're not the leader on old tires, I think you're just going to get swallowed alive because Chad's still hanging on.
Well, for 4th going on, you've got Joshua Adams to the inside of Damian Lineker, and I don't think Chad Frankenfield wants to look in his rearview mirror because that Nesquik bunny was getting a little bit large there. Now it looks like Frankenfield begins to open up a tiny bit of distance between himself and 2nd place. Oh, we are under caution. Yep,
yeah.
Field slowing.
Trying to look for what happened back there.
One is back at the rear again. I don't know if it might have been him once more. Look and see. Yeah, I think it was the 94.
I'm hearing the
94 of
37.
Kendall Noah player.
Yeah, I'm hearing the 37 and so got into someone because he's getting EOL.
3794. That's exactly who it was.
Oh, yep. There we go. Entering turn 1 again. We've seen a lot of problems entering turn 1 and leaving turn 2.
Everybody's fighting for the bottom. Looked like Kendall Noah player wanted the inside. I don't know if he didn't realize that Ethan Burrows to his inside or not. Can't tell who that car is that also spun out. Well, it was the 19. Finished 2nd in the last 2 races, also getting spun out in a follow-up wreck there. He lost a ton of track position because of that as well, and it's going to give us a restart with less than 15 to go here, and we're only in the first heat.
This is interesting here, Seth. We've officially hit the point of splitting the field. A lot of people stay out. You got some guys that were up front, like Joshua Adams from 6th position coming down pit road.
This is definitely going to be interesting. Yeah, there's about, let's looks like maybe 11, 12 cars that, and then the remainder of the field coming to pit road here. I mean, we saw how Rexing on only 2 tires was able to completely bypass the 3 of Scott Haney, who had stayed out. Looked like for a brief moment he was reeling in Chad Frankenfield, but then that caution came out. He wasn't able to have time to reel him in. So I think these guys are all realizing, hey, we're getting a restart with less than 15 to go. Let's come down. Let's get those tires. Maybe we go green to the end and we can do something.
I think more impressively from the 10 with the 2 tires, he was able to keep ahead of the 56 and the 12 who are on 4. So, I think those 2 tires are actually holding on pretty well. And, how many restarts can he survive with them before they even out to basically having no tires on it? Or are they going to hold on the rest of the way? And Chad's still the leader here with no tires from that last pit cycle on him. And not a lot of laps left. You can definitely hold on easier and easier the less laps there are.
Well, I would have loved to have been Jared Rexon on the last restart because he was able to line up on the inside of row 2. Now he's going to be stuck on the outside of row 1. That's going to allow Tate Lytle to get to his inside possibly into turn 1. So I think the advantage for Rexing last time to be able to hold on was he was able to stay on the bottom. Now he's going to be leaving the bottom open, and I think that's when you're going to see those fresher tires of Tate Lytle come into play.
Yeah, it's all about the restart here for Jared Rexing. If he can get a solid start, he'll be able to maybe hold on to that spot. Oh, actually, interesting. The 15 takes the top.
Oh.
That probably just saved the 10 car of Jared Rexing.
Could very well have. I got a thought here as well. I mean, obviously, Frankenfield knows the 56 has 4 fresh tires. That's a teammate. Frankenfield's already got a victory this season last week at Sebring. Do you think he's maybe moving up there, realizing the 56 is going to be a little bit faster than him, giving him a clear lane if he wants to pass for the win, get another driver, get another teammate into the playoffs?
Maybe, but I thought it would be a bit smarter to be the leader and communicate when you're going so we can get a good jump with you and then just let him by, no?
Well, we're going to have to see what the strategy was because it could be one or the other. We know that Frankenfield all season long when he starts up front is really good at being able to get away on restarts. So we'll see what he's able to do here. We're going to be getting the restart with 12 laps to go. We'll see if we've seen our last yellow in this heat. Somehow I don't think so, as Frankenfield leads him out of 4.
10 car kind of bogged down, but he's still in the inside of the 12. 2 tires versus 4 tires for second position. He washes up a little bit. That's going to actually hurt Tate Lytle. So if they were going for a teammate call, I don't really see it working out too well right now. As the 91 that's going to dive below the 56 here. And Chad's gone, honestly.
Oh,
contact!
Woo! Boy, the left front came up off the ground for the 12 of Damian Leniger. Somehow kept that thing straight, and that bottled them all up from second place on back. 91 now going to go to third. That's Austin Beers.
Yeah, Jared Rexing was fighting really hard to keep that second position, and you know what he does for right now? He battles on for third between the 91, the 12, the 56, and adds the 26 to that now. Tyler Riggs is up there, and man, you can definitely tell. Oh, they're spinning behind them, it looks like.
Saw them 4 wide for a brief moment, and yes, the 87 of Richard Hines has gone around. I believe Matthew Weeks in the 11 also spun out, and that will undoubtedly bring out yet another caution. I saw them, I thought they were going to wreck us. I think for a brief moment going into turn 3, they were 4 wide. The 54 of Rishav Kosala may have also been collected up in that incident in turn 3. Back and see what happened. We'll be getting a restart yet again, this time with less than 10 laps to go. Oh yeah, that started actually back in the center of the back straightaway with the 54 car.
Yeah, there was a mess of cars going on into 3.
Remember you mentioned about the 88 of Joshua Adams coming to pit road. I believe he was the one that got into the 54. Just coming off of turn 2. Oh, they were almost 5 wide, so there's not really a whole lot of room to maneuver. The 3 also back there, Scott Haney getting spun out, and then further up, back with the 11 of Matthew Weeks. He comes down in front of Richard Hines. He also had a four-wheel slide for the 31 of Jared Campbell. He was able to save it. So I think the caution came out for the 54, but then you had another incident over in the entrance of turn 3, which definitely confirmed the fact that there was going to be a caution thrown.
Yeah, there was 2 or 3 separate instances there, all within the same backstretch to turn 3, and honestly, I'm surprised it was only the 54 getting spun around, the 11 and the 87 really getting damage out of that. That could have been a lot bigger with where it happened and how it happened.
Definitely could have. I agree with you on that. So now we wind it up. We do it again. And a little bit different circumstances, especially with what we saw, the contact between Jared Rexing and Damian Leniger. That now puts Austin Beers up to 3rd. Leniger's back to 4th. Tate Lytle was probably the biggest loser on that last run. He's back to 5th. Then you got Tyler Riggs, Stephen McGough, Joshua Clark trying to regain back points that he lost due to a penalty last week at Sebring, up there in 8th. Andrew Rucker and Jared Campbell continues to charge back up. So after his early spin, he's in the 10th position.
Yeah, they're doubled up again, coming to they're coming to the restart, this time by. And the 15 car again takes the outside.
I think whether he takes the inside or the outside, he's been so good on restarts, it really doesn't matter which line he takes. Maybe the outside line gives him a better entry into 1.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't compromise your arc, and as you get to control the start, I think it doesn't really matter what line you start in as long as you catch the other guy kind of sleeping a bit, which honestly he has been every time, so let's see what happens this time.
7 laps to go here. See if we can make it to the checkers without another yellow.
Chad again gets a good start, gets away, but the 10 doesn't have to fight anyone this time and does have slightly fresher right side tires. So we'll have to see, maybe now they're going again and he doesn't have to race anyone if he can catch up and pass that 15 car.
I think it was, maybe about 8, 9, 10 laps ago that everybody was on pit road, so maybe the tires have evened out between Jared Rexing and the rest of the field, at least the drivers up here at the front.
Yeah, they've had a couple cycles on it, so it'll definitely be interesting to see who's quicker or not. It does look like the 10 car is a little bit better from the center off of the corner, but he's just not getting enough of a run, so he's going to have to make something happen.
While you look back there at Tate Lytle, he managed to get around Tyler Riggs. He's now up to 4th, sets his sights on the 12 of Damian Leniger. Saw the 10 of Jared Rexing run with 2 tires down below the yellow line there, going through turns 3 and 4. Ground on Frankenfield, but I think he's starting to actually get reeled in by Damian Leniger for 3rd place.
Chad Frankenfield, that last lap was the fastest car on the track, even on those older tires than most of the field. So I definitely think if there's not another yellow, I think Chad's got just enough in that car to keep it away from him. And the real battle's for 2nd as it's heating up between Jared and Damian.
It really is. Jared Rexing trying to hold the bottom, basically saying to Damian Leniger, if you're going to pass me in the corner, you're going to have to go up to that 2nd groove because I'm not giving you the bottom. There's also a good battle going on from 6th place on back. Austin Beers trying to hold off Joshua Clark. Matter of fact, I think that's the closest battle going on right now. He's got a whole bunch of drivers behind him. Jared Campbell there, Stephen McGough, Andrew Rucker, they're all lined up from 6th place on back.
Yeah, there's a big battle going on from just outside the top 5 through about 12th or 13th position. It's really, really close. The battle for the lead is really non-existent as Chad is definitely pulling away a little bit. It looks like times are starting to swing back in Jared's favor, but I think it's too little too late. He got away from Damian a little bit there for 2nd, so he's just able to kind of drive his own race and see if he can catch up to Chad. He actually closes a good amount in 3 and 4 that time.
Definitely did. I don't know if Frankenfield took the corner a little easy, if he messed up the corner, but yeah, you could visibly see the gap closed up as we are at 3 laps to go here at ISM. Rexing running a little bit higher line there, maybe trying to get some straightaway speed. Remember, there's that front end damage on the 15 car, might be affecting his straightaway speed perhaps. We'll see if the 10 tries to diamond turns.
I think I just heard a cautions out.
Oh, and that's the last thing Frankenfield wanted to hear. And yes, they are slowing. So that would, I would assume, with this number
there's a huge
laps
wreck.
back.
The 88, the 11, the 54, the 3.
wow, they're still wrecking. Oh my goodness. It's a 73 spun around Michael Goodman. That was the 54 back there, Bishop Kosla. Yeah, they were still wrecking down to turn 1. Oh, and the 88 just clobbered the inside wall, and he's coming back up into traffic. And looks like he just called it quits. I'm assuming this is going to mean we're going to be having a green-white checkered here to finish out this heat. Go back and see what happened. There were a lot of cars involved in that one. So much so, the wreck continued on when we jumped back. Let's watch this. It's Martinez in the 38. Valvance in the 5. Wow. And then the track's just blocked up. Nowhere for these guys to go. Ethan Riesener's involved. Matthew Weeks. There's Goodman getting involved. There's Rishav Kosla. Haney was in it. Just blocked up. You got that pit wall separating the track from pit road, and when cars are sliding, it's basically pick a lane, hope that nobody's there, and then here you can see the hard hit against the inside safer barrier for pretty much just took his car out of the race. And I just realized I didn't show that whole replay. Good job, me.
Yeah,
Now
it looks
we'll show
like it looks like they're done. I'm not sure if they just didn't want to bother with the green-white checkered because the caution came out just before they got to the white flag. But I think with the mess of the night and the cautions and the safety or the pace car glitch, I think they're just going to be done and go to race 2.
Looks like Frankenfield will get the win here for the first heat race. So now he's won back-to-back. That ties him with Tyler Riggs for most wins this season. And now you guys will see the hit the 88 took. Oh, looks like the race ends under yellow. They will be re-racking them. I believe they're going to have another qualifying session to set everybody up for the second heat. So as they do that, let's do a little recap of what we saw here in this first heat, because, I mean, my goodness, just a little bit of everything with a caution glitch, which definitely made things a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it was. I think the caution glitch is really what made this race kind of flip over from what was being a pretty decent, tame race to kind of a bit more of a lot of aggression and just such. It's kind of hard to go through as people have already gone through and passed lines, and we basically know that Chad won over Jared and Damien, but behind there, I think it's kind of hard to keep track of the positions.
Is. I mean, at this point, we can't even really show the official results because they actually are coming through showing Austin Beers top of the board. So I think that the yellow flag issue kind of messed up the finishing results as well. Officially, I'm pretty certain that they have Chad Frankenfield as the winner of this race. But from there, I guess it would be Rexing in second. I believe Leniger would be third.
I think Tate Lytle and
Tate
Tyler
Lytle.
Riggs was 4th and 5th, and behind there it was
We don't know.
2, 3 wide.
In that wreck that we saw between the 88 and the 38, that was somewhere around the 10th, 11th position. So, yeah, a lot of results we don't know what the official results really are.
I definitely don't pity the admins in this situation trying to figure out how they're doing that, man. Like, I would not want to be in that spot. That's rough, and they're still
I
second
definitely
race.
Agree. We're getting word that the second race will be 8:47. So let's shift gears to that second race. What was there in this first heat that you think people are going to be able to apply now going into the second heat?
Well, I think you have to apply what Chad Frankenfield did there. He had 4 or 5 lap older tires got the lead from staying out and was able to keep on to it for the last 20 laps of the race.
Track position definitely seems to be a factor. Controlling those restarts definitely seems to be a factor. I mean, even if we don't even look at Frankenfield, we look at Jared Rexing on 2 tires. He was able to hold off guys that we know on their pit stop took 4 tires. So it seems like it's more track position over tire grip.
Yeah, I definitely think it depends on how many people pit versus don't pit, is if you're going to want tires or not. Or honestly, I think maybe if they would have stayed green for the last 20 laps, I think you would have seen that tire difference. But they had a good, 3 yellows or so, which probably made up about 12 laps of the last 20, making it a little bit easier for Chad to hang on to the lead there. But I definitely think you have to look in the second heat for more people maybe trying that out.
He's got back-to-back victories now, and we'll be able to get a little bit of an idea of whether or not that's being out in front, getting that track position was what helped. We got Chad Frankenfield here, the winner of Heat 1. We'll get him here for an interview. All right, Chad, so back-to-back victories, a wild first heat. But one thing that we were wondering after seeing you get involved in that wreck with the 37, you made the strategy call to stay out. Was track position what got you that victory?
Oh yeah, for sure. There wasn't much fall off after, but once you got from like lap 4 to on to about 20, so I knew if I could just stay out front, it was gonna be all right. I feel bad for you guys because that was just really weird. I've never seen that before in my life on the sim. Um, Kudos to our race control for trying to do the best we can there, and yeah, that was really rough. Yeah, not much else I could say about that.
Well, as commentators, we're always looking for a storyline. That definitely gave us a storyline to be able to talk about for a little bit there. First time we've ever seen that happen. One thing that we saw, that contact between you and the 37 there in the dogleg on the back straightaway, just how difficult is it to judge with everybody being able to take so many different lines there into that back stretch to be able to know if you're clear on somebody or not?
It's really just you just hope that you're clear. The spotters actually weren't working after when all that thing was going on, so guys really didn't know if they were clear or not. So it just made life really difficult, really difficult on everybody. Just glad we got through that. Hopefully, this next race is way cleaner as far as the iRacing is concerned.
We know that whenever a driver puts the helmet on, their main goal to go out there and win. But you've got back-to-back victories now. You're tied for most wins this season with Tyler Riggs. Does that alleviate the pressure, let you go out there, be a lot more aggressive, try and pick up a third W?
Yeah, I mean it's all about the chase points, and then just trying to lock up first in the championship to get those extra 15, and just do the best we can to get to Miami. So.
All right, Bronson, you got anything for Chad here?
Yeah, just trying to look back on that, Chad. What is it like to have a night like this with 2 races back to back? Like, is there things that you kind of just experiment around with in one race versus the other, or just, kind of take them both the same way?
I mean, it's just run clean race, do everything you can. It sucks. I got the EOL for getting into Ethan there. I don't know. I mean, it was my fault looking at the replay, but I don't. It's just one of those things where the dog leg was at. He wasn't going up very early because there was a car on the outside of him, and it's one of those things. You love ISM for the dog leg, but you also hate it because you get things like that, and it's unfortunate for the 37 for sure. But hopefully we can move into the second race here and have another good one.
All right, well,
Yeah.
congratulations on that victory. Obviously, that's going to put you in very good stead as far as the playoffs are concerned, and be interesting to watch you here, see if you're able to pull off some kind of different strategy. Because I kind of got to think that a lot of guys looked at what you did, what some other drivers did, and they're going to try and apply that in the second heat race. And now you got to come up with a whole new strategy.
Yeah, I mean it's just going to be qualifying up front, and then going from there and seeing what happens. So.
All right, so that's going to be it with Chad Frankenfield. Maybe we'll talk to you after the second heat. Maybe you'll pick up a third victory in a row. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be nice.
All right, so as we prepare to get ready for this next session, I think now that Chad Frankenfield's going to be the points leader. I was wrong last week, so I'm assuming I'll be correct this week that he's going to be the points leader, at least heading into this second race. And I look at some of these other tracks that we've got coming up here on the schedule as well. Next week, we're going to be at Twin Ring Motegi. The following week, we're at Tsukuba Circuit. I mean, there's some very interesting tracks these drivers are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, there's still some interesting tracks, still a decent amount of racing left in the season, and I believe you are right, Seth. I think you said he was only 5 points behind Tyler Riggs, and Tyler Riggs finished fifth. Well, Chad won that race. I think that'd be the 5 point swing with the win and the probably the most laps led there. So I do believe Chad should be the points leader into this second race of the night.
All right, so we obviously know Chad Frankenfield showed that he was able to get it done here at ISM in this first heat race. But, I mean, who's some of the guys you're looking at here in this second heat that you think might be some of the favorites to maybe wrestle a win away from him?
I think you got to look at Ethan Barrow. Considering everything that happened to him, he was leading the race before that contact with Chad. And I think they were the top two guys. If he can qualify up front again, I think he'll have a good shot if he stays out of trouble. Honestly, I want to look at the 88 of Joshua Adams. He fell to the back twice, fought back into the top 10 both times before ultimately that last lap wreck.
I also think that we might have to look at Frankenfield's teammate Tate Lytle, because it looked like he had a car to possibly win that race. We saw him get stacked up there with Jared Rexing on that one restart. That kind of faded him back to fifth place. He was only able to work up to fourth. I think that given the opportunity with more green flag laps, we might have been able to see a little bit more long run speed out of him and maybe see him get up there and battle his teammate for the victory.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure. I think too, Jared Rexing right there on the two tires at the end was looking really strong. If he had four, would he have maybe been able to catch Chad or even just more laps? His lap times were starting to get about half a tenth to a tenth quicker, and he was about 3-4 tenths back, just not enough laps for him to do it.
We'll definitely have to see. I mean, obviously, like I was saying, I think that the playbook's now open. They've been able to see what the tires do. They've been able to see whether on new tires you can pick up spots through the field. They've been able to see just how important track position is, how important that clean air is. So I think, the plays have been made. Now everybody's going to try and make those plays, and that leaves everybody that got good finishes trying to come up with new ideas of how they can stay up at the front of the field.
Yeah, now, what do you think, Seth? Do you think this second race is going to be more tame or even more cautions?
Well, I mean, I think if we had had a different driver go to victory lane here in this heat, that maybe, just maybe, we'd see a little bit tamer race in the second one. I think now everybody that doesn't have a win this season, they're going to be somewhat in desperation mode. I think that they're realizing now that Tyler Riggs is racking up the playoff points. Frankenfield's racking up the playoff points. They need to get W's to be able to counter that, to be able to get playoff points as well. So I think that not necessarily going to see a wreck fest, but I think we are going to see these guys race just as aggressively as we did in the early portions of the first heat race. And I think you're going to see them race maybe a little bit more aggressively at the end as well. I mean, that big wreck we saw at the end, I think definitely showed just how every position matters. And I think we're going to see the same thing here in the second heat race.
Good points for sure. It's, I don't know. It's interesting. Double headers are always kind of crazy. Typically, NASCAR-wise, you used to always have one race that was tame. The other one was, a little bit crazier. But, a track like ISM, guys like this going for every spot, wins, locking into a playoff spot. I don't know. Can you really ever say any race is tame at that point?
Very good point, especially with the fact that this is a track like we saw them on the back straightaway. It was holding them 3 wide, 4 wide. At one point, they looked like 5 wide in the center of the back stretch. So the thing I think these drivers now know, as opposed to before, I think they might have, at least in the first few laps, they were tiptoeing through turns 1 and 2. Not sure if their car was going to stay under them. we're running the same conditions here in the second heat race that we ran the first heat race. So now they have a better idea on restarts and on the long run, just what their cars are capable of in terms of grip. So I think with that little bit of comfort, if you will, they're going to now be able to know, I can make this move, I can't make this move.
Actually, Seth, the conditions are way cooler for this second race. It's later in the day. Track temperature is only 87 degrees instead of 115.
That's going to be more grip for these guys going into the corners. So, okay, so that definitely, I think, will also play into the fact we'll see these drivers make maybe a little bit more aggressive moves than we saw in the first heat race.
Yeah, track's gonna be grippier. The sun's down more. Oh man, there was more grip. There's a potential for more wrecks. You can get more side by side racing. You can definitely. I think the nice thing with the lower temps like this, I think we could see the outside line work a lot better than in the hot conditions. I think the track just gets very one grooved when it's anything above 110 degrees. It's a little wild at that point. So who knows? Maybe the cars won't be so on edge, and we'll see some really good racing all around the field.
I want to go back to a point that Frankenfield made as well about this second heat, was he wanted to qualify well for it. Now, obviously, it was great to have him be up front at the closing stages. He was able to get that clean air. That's why he was able to get the victory. But you go back and you look at this race, you ended up having himself and Ethan Burrow. They were running in second and third at the time. They wrecked with each other. You had Lutz wreck from, I think he was second place at the time. You ended up having the 31 car run into some issues when he was running in fifth. So I don't know. Do you really want to be up at the front, at least early on?
Yeah, I mean, typically when you think of anything with qualifying, you want to be up front, but that's honestly where we saw the most problems in that first race, was anywhere from second through sixth position. Is that just because you have all the quick guys up front, obviously, and they're racing a bit harder because they know they can all win that race? Or is it just that's how caught out they were? There's a whole combination of things when it comes to why they wreck, but typically qualifying up front is better. But yeah, it's really interesting that last race most of the cautions started from the top five.
I just got messaged about the fact that we had a black screen there when we were talking. That was because I was actually loading up the session, and unfortunately I thought we were going to have like a special screen to show the league logo, or at least the broadcast logo or something. We don't have that yet, so now you guys are able to see the practice session for this second heat. Apologize for the black screen. It was just in the process of loading up the next session of iRacing. So, all good.
It's part of the growing pains.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot to do. I don't think that's what people realize sometimes. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with events like this, and it's still all coming together, but we're doing it, and here we are for race number 2 now.
So now here comes the big question. We've asked a lot of questions going into this second heat race, but here's the big one. Do we have the caution glitch in the second heat race?
I really hope not. I
really hope not too.
Yeah, I really think that threw the race on its head a little bit. It made it a little bit harder to follow, and you really had to kind of listen for an admin called caution there. So hopefully everything's fixed. It is a completely new session, so it should be all reset. But hopefully, ideally, just don't get a yellow and you don't have the chance for that to happen.
But kudos to the admins, though. I mean, the easy choice would have been maybe to cancel the session, restart it over. We were about 15 to 18 laps in, so kudos to them to just rolling with the punches, going ahead, deciding we're going to run it with the manual cautions. It obviously made it a little difficult for us as far as the finishing results and everything, trying to figure out who finished where. But regardless of the fact, just continuing on, finishing out the heat, I think that was a good call by them, and I think that they really should be commended on that, because easy choice would have probably been just to restart the whole thing over.
Yeah, for sure. Vic Bloom and Chad Frankenfield did a really good job with that first race. They were not put in an easy spot at all, and honestly, neither were the drivers. Everyone in the league did a really, really good job of, figuring it out, sticking with it, getting that first race done, and it's nice that we got that first race in, and now we're on to the second one where hopefully we don't have any issues.
Right now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, with what I'm seeing in the chat, I don't know if this is what we are seeing right now or not. We're going to have a 10-minute group qualifying session, and then obviously the second heat is going to be 50 laps in length like the first heat was. I'm not certain if this is the group qualifying session or if this is still practice, though.
This was the qualified session, actually just ended. I think they just went ahead and didn't do a warm-up or anything and just gave it a qualifying 10-minute open session for people to join in and get a lap in, and that'll be the start of the race. So coming up next is the 50 lap second heat.
So with this being the group qualifying session, your front row, Ethan Burrell will line up on the front row again. This time, though, he'll be on the outside of the front row. Ryan Lutz is actually going to be the pole sitter for the second heat. We obviously know that he had that issue there with the early portions of the first heat, and we'll see if now being up front, if he'll be able to stay out of trouble, maybe pick up a win here. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if starting up front's necessarily a good thing with what we saw in the first heat race.
Yeah, as they're starting to grid down on pit road, which means we're getting ready to start here in just a little bit. They're going to roll off and come to the green flag. And, you know, you got some people up front again that were right up front that last race. Ethan Barrell, Chad Frankenfield, Andrew Rucker was up there before his incident, Tate Lytle, Damian Leninger, Tyler Riggs. Those guys were all in the top 5 that first heat. And here they all are again, 2nd through 7th.
Absolutely. So you got to think that they're probably going to be some of the players up here at the front. But of course, if we end up getting cautions, especially towards the midway point, possibility we could see pit strategy. The one thing I'm wondering, and you know, you brought up the fact that we've got lower track temperature. That it's lower track temperature, we're going to have more grip. Would these drivers, if we get a caution, you know, towards the midway point, be as anxious to come down pit road?
I think if you get halfway through, you still want to pit for those tires, but I think if you're 5-10 laps in, you might not.
For the grid to start rolling off, I'm pretty certain that we were able to show the entire starting lineup, because I think everybody in group qualifying laid down a time, so I think that might be the first time this season that we were able to show the full field starting grid. You can see the sunset glistening off the cars there.
I'm looking on the stream real quick, Seth. It doesn't look like there's anything up.
On this end, it does actually have the broadcast showing, so... let me try refreshing it. On this end, it's got the race broadcast showing, so I'm not certain. Well, the green flag's gone in the air. We'll see if we can figure out this technical difficulties. We do have two watching. Can you let us know if you're able to see the broadcast on your end?
Yeah, we are under green. Ryan, let's
I believe based off the chat, he's able to see the broadcast.
Oh, it just popped up.
Broadcast is good, they're saying.
Yeah, it just popped up on my end, so that was weird. But we are under green. Yep. We're on lap 2. Sorry about that. We were just trying to figure out, make sure everything was all set up. They're 3 wide for 3rd and 4th already.
Holy cow, they are. My goodness, that was, I think, Leninger down on the bottom of that 3 wide situation. Frankenfield up top. Fortunately out to double wide, and yeah, cooler track conditions. I think it's looking like these guys are able to stay side by side, not slide up into each other nearly as much as we saw in the first heat.
Yeah, it definitely looks like you can use both groups a little bit better than that first race, and I think it'll only get better as it rubbers in more and more. Up front, still Ryan lets it over Ethan Barrell. Ethan does look like he's starting to track him down a little bit here on only coming to the 4th lap. Chadswell by himself in 3rd position.
Ow.
And the battle's really on for 4th on back.
4 of Andrew Rucker took that corner way too high. Oh, we got a spin in the back. I believe that's the 54 around. The 83, Stephen McGough, got spun around off somebody's nose coming out of turn 4, and that's going to bring out the yellow flag.
Let's see what happens here.
It was the 75. It might have been the 75. Someone was sideways. I saw
the
that.
75 got spun by the 83.
First caution is out. I think it looked like they might have been 3 wide coming off that corner, actually.
It was pretty close. They didn't hit the wall. Very minimal, if any, damage to the 75 and the 83. So they're both going to be able to continue on, get some fresh tires, and see what they can do from there.
Look and see what happened to the two of them through 3 and 4. I don't know, everything seems to be happening tonight. We had the caution glitch, we're having issues with the broadcast showing up, and our replay thing isn't showing there right now, so it's just a black screen. But anyway, that's what brought out the caution for the first time here in the second heat race. That's going to bring Ethan Burrow right back up alongside of Ryan Lutz. Be interesting to see here, because we saw Frankenfield. He took the low side on one restart, took the high side on the last 2 restarts. Which line do you think the 46 takes?
That's a good question. I don't know. I almost think with the cooler temperatures, you can get away with really starting on either line even more so. But you have so much control as the race leader. I really don't think it matters too much if you just catch the other guy not paying that much attention. You just get away and you're clear by the time you get to turn 1 anyway, and you get to run wherever you want. I almost would, if you are forced to be side by side, I think I'd almost want the top though. You kind of get a bit more arc, you get a bit more run off, and you kind of pinch the guy down and get a better run off the corner. But you know that sometimes doesn't end very well.
I think it's just all about timing the start. If you're able to clear the car to the inside of you on that front row, then you've got a clear entry into the corner. But if he gets alongside of you when you get to the start-finish line, then you got to kind of weigh your options going into turn 1.
I think interesting is compared to the first race where after the first 5 laps we had nearly everyone come down and pit, we had maybe, what, a handful of cars pit this time, starting with the highest running driver was, I believe, like around 6th or 7th. So I definitely don't think they're fearing tire wear as much.
I definitely think you're correct. It'll also be interesting to see, too, just how far these drivers are willing to go on these tires. I mean, you know, those drivers you mentioned coming to pit road here in the first 10 laps. If we get a caution maybe 10, 15 laps down the road and all these leaders come down pit road, do those drivers maybe stay out and gain track position? It's going to be very interesting because, you know, like we stated, all these drivers utilize different strategies in the first heat race. Now you've got to kind of come up with a new strategy because somebody else is probably going to steal a page from your playbook.
Yeah, if we go green here, I think if you get 10, 15 laps of constant green flag racing, you're going to want to come down and pit. But I think 4 or 5 laps, I don't really know if you'll see people come down and pit unless they just are really trying something different. We were at 1 to go, if you noticed, and I think someone spun out leaving pit road and went back to 1 to green. So the lights should be going on the pace car this time by.
As we re-rack them, it'll be Ryan Lutz starting alongside of Ethan Burrow. Looks like the 46 has chosen the inside line for the restart. Chad Frankenfield, Damian Leniger in row 2, Tate Lytle, Andrew Rucker, who had that pretty nice save as he slid up there in 3 and 4. He's going to line up 6th in row 3. Tyler Riggs, Matthew Weeks, who had the hard hit in the closing stages of the first heat race, there row 4 with Jared Campbell and Jared Rexing right up there in that 10th position. So we're starting to see some of those guys. I'm also seeing the 19 of David Tooker going to be rolling off, looks like from 11th. So we'll see. He did not have a good run in the first heat race, so we'll see if he can get back up here to the front in this second heat race. Of course, we mentioned prior to the first heat race, he was coming off back-to-back second-place finishes at both Richmond and Sebring. As the field's about ready to head for turn 4, we'll see just how good a restart the 46 of Lutz can get.
Yeah, the pace car peels off the pit road, so no pace car glitch this time. The 46 has the control of the field, and he takes off, and he's already clear of the 37. See, there you go. It doesn't really matter what line you start from. He's clear. He's going to move to the top, go back down to the bottom for the entry. Ethan's clear of Chad, and the battle's on really for about 4th place again between Damien and Tate. This looks exactly the same as last race.
Almost getting up and into the wall in the back straightaway with the 12 of Damian Leniger. I don't think he could have fit a sheet of paper between his car and the outside wall. Tate Lytle trying to slide up and take the spot out of 4. Not quite clear as they head to the front stretch.
Yeah, I definitely think you can see the cooler temperatures there allowed Damien to stay alongside a bit better than it would have last session. Chad's making a move for second on the 37. Those two guys were 1-2 much of the last race, and Chad gets clear in the 15 for second position, and now he's going to go chase down Ryan Lutz in the 46 for the lead.
Going on for sixth place behind them. Andrew Rucker on the outside, Tyler Riggs on the inside. Ethan Burrow wants the second spot back. He's going to drive it in deep into turn one.
Yeah, we're really seeing them go for it here nice and early. It's lap 11. I say early, but it's already 40 laps to go. It's a short race, and we got a yellow.
Caution is out. And looks like it might have been the 31 car. Jared Campbell, perhaps. Is down on the apron. Over on the back straightaway.
The 11 got the wall, the 31 came off the corner and just nowhere really to go. Ran to the back of him and it spun him around as he tried to avoid it, looked like.
Boy, again, two drivers that suffered some wrecks, some spinouts in the first heat, getting involved here in an incident in this second heat.
Yeah, I think those are two guys that are looking for this doubleheader night to be over.
The 11 car up there on the high side, boy, you could see the right side tire smoking as he came off of turn 2, talking about the 11 car of Matthew Weeks. Might have gotten back to the throttle a little too soon in that corner. As you said, got the wall, got the 31. 31 I don't think really hit anything, so I think he might be okay.
Yeah, the 31 just got the back of the 11 and spun around and got going straight again pretty quick, but I raced him through the yellow. I really do think the 11 was just a little too high, gone to the dirtier part of the track, and he was trying to keep it off, but also trying to stay in and not lose spots, and it ended up costing him. That right front damage can be pretty bad on a car like this. It just takes away all that downforce, and downforce is always important on an oval track, especially in dirty air.
As you're looking live here, a number of drivers on pit road. Jared Rexing, Matthew Weeks, there's Rishab Khosla, Ethan Riesener, Val Vance is there as well. So some drivers taking the opportunity here under this second caution to come down pit road. However, Ryan Lutz continues to stay out, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think the 15 and the 37 also were on pit road under that yellow.
Yeah, the 15 of Chad Frakenfield kind of led them all down pit road there. Or actually, it looked like Ethan Barrow led them down pit road, yeah, because he's right ahead of him still. And they're really not that far back. They went from
really
second and third to 8th and 9th, and they effectively have 13 lap pressure tires now. This will be the interesting point to see if that makes a difference. 13 laps, it's 2 cautions to run on them, but I definitely think they're going to have more outright grip.
If we go into a long green flag run, it's going to vary on 2 factors. Number 1, how good a start and how much ground can Ryan Lutz gain on second, third place on back. Second factor is how quickly can Ethan Barrow and Chad Frankenfield on those fresh tires make their way past those 6-7 guys ahead of them.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on those two for sure. They were quick last race, they're quick this race, and now they're in a little bit of traffic. Pace car should be peeling off here. Yep, there it goes. Hands of the field is in Ryan Lutz.
Going to be Lutz, Austin Beers, row 1, Joshua Adams, Joshua Clark, row 2, Dallas Myhan completes the top 5 as the green flag's back in the air.
Don't know about that from the 46, switching lanes before the start-finish line. I'm not sure if this league has a rule against that, but that if there is, that could be a warning or even a black flag. Because what just happened back there? Did Joshua Adams in the 91 just have an issue?
There's the 94 of Kendall Noah player around on the back straightaway as well. You saw it bottom of your screen. 88 was really loose there on the back stretch. He saved it though, and
oh, actually, the 91,
well.
Yeah, the 91 got the wall, came off of it, tried to keep off the 88, and just spun it around. So Joshua Adams didn't actually do anything there. He just cleanly got by, but the 91 car from third position to just kill him that outside wall.
And the 94 of Kendall Noah player, our Pocono winner, is on pit road. A lot of front end damage on that machine as well. Oh, Take a look and see what happened back there. That was right up at the front of the field. As he mentioned, it was a battle for second place.
Oh, the 19 of David Toker got hooked by the 86 there and cleaned out to the outside wall. Also,
Look at how this...
the 46 real quick did just get an EOL penalty for switching lines before the start-finish line.
Oh, boy.
He was the race leader.
I was kind of... Oh, wow, yeah, that is a hard hit by Tooker. I was kind of wondering about that as well. Obviously, he wanted that outside line to get the better run into turn one, but my question is, if that's what you wanted, why didn't you start on the outside of the front row for the restart?
Even then, he was clear by the time they got to start-finish, so he could have just moved up after, and I think that's just one of those things when you're in the driver's seat, it's kind of an oversight you leave sometimes, and we've seen it happen in real NASCAR. We've seen it happen on sims all the time. It's just one of those things. You're clear. Your spotter says clear. You move to where you want to go. And I think that it definitely bit him. And now he's going to be at the end of the field. You know, he's got 30 laps to try and get back up there. But, man, qualified on the pole, was leading the race. And that's a heartbreak.
And that turns the race lead now over to Joshua Adams. It's all Joshua front row. Joshua Adams up top, Joshua Clark on the bottom. And look who's lined up there on the outside of row 2. Ethan Burrell on those slightly fresher tires. Be interesting to see if he'll be on this restart. Dallas Myhan to his inside, restarting in 3rd place. Talk about a couple of those other drivers that have some fresh tires. Chad Frankenfield back there in 8th position. 10th, Tyler Riggs in 11th, so be interesting to see what they do here.
We're already getting ready to come to the restart here, Seth, and like you were saying, Joshua Adams and Joshua Clark on the front row. This is the first time both of them are up front. Ethan Barrell's going to be hunting for that lead, though.
We'll see. Is he going to be aggressive on this first lap, or is he going to let these guys settle it out and then try picking them off?
Joshua Adams got a really good start, but so did Ethan Barrell. He's going to fall into 2nd and actually be clear for it. So now you have basically a guy that hasn't hit yet versus a guy that has 8-lap fresher tires. How much of a difference is it going to make? He dives to the dogleg trying to get to the inside of Joshua Adams for the lead.
The second time a restart, I've seen the 12 of Damian Leninger almost go up and handshake the outside wall. He has been right up close to it on the back straightaway, and the battle for the lead, it's hot and heavy.
I think I just heard a lane change by Damian Leninger.
I don't know. Ooh, look at this.
Battle for the lead is on.
Goes
Ethan's
low,
to
37
the inside.
goes lower.
Into turn 3 and 4, and they're really not giving for it. How good is that outside line with the worn out tires compared to the 37? 37's able to hold even. 88 holds the lead for that lap, but how long can he hold them off? Into turn 1, he's not giving them much room down there.
You got a nice exit there off of turn 2. Did the 88 of Joshua Adams. Ethan Burrell kind of pinched down on the bottom, which kind of doesn't allow him to get back to the throttle as soon as he would like to create that straightaway speed.
Yeah, they're still side by side, coming off of turn 4. A better run that time for Ethan Barrell. He's a bit closer up alongside, but loses a bit of ground from the run that Joshua Adams gets off of the corner. But you can see the grip, you can see the tire difference off of the corner. Ethan Barrell's going to dive to the dogleg and maybe clear him going into 3. Caution comes out. Doesn't matter. He's going to be the leader as he was ahead.
To your point, even with older tires, with the cooler track conditions, we've got an outside line here in the second heat of ISM.
Yeah, Joshua Adams on basically 13, 14 lap older tires was able to hold Ethan back for 3 or 4 laps on that top side of the track. So, you know, that's something to note as well for the end of the race. You can definitely do it for a couple laps.
Absolutely. I mean, we kind of saw back in the first heat where, you know, drivers that were on older tires, they were hogging the inside line. And if you're down that inside line, someone had to pass you on the outside line. There wasn't very much room to be able to do that. I think that now that outside line is an option if you're trying to pass somebody for position. Try and see what brought out this caution.
I'm actually just found it, and it's between the 12 and get this, the 46 car of Ryan Lutz. That black flag put him in the back of the field, and he now no longer even has an engine in that car.
Oh my goodness. So 2 drivers that got pegged for lane change penalties. And boy, that's going to hurt Leniger also in the point standings.
Man, that's tough. Leniger, Lutz, and it looks like maybe someone else was involved in that.
Looks like Leniger is going to lose it going into turn 1. Before this, Jared Rexing got forced up the track and almost spun it out. Had a nice save. Yeah, I think there was a little bit of netcode contact between the 12 of Leniger and the 41 of Dallas Myhand.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing on my
nowhere.
end. It looks like the 41 went in on the bottom, washed up a little bit, and just netcode helps you out in that situations when two colliding objects are just that different apart, and it just gets him around. And Ryan Lutz, the innocent bystander, just trying to get by on the bottom, gets hooked in the right rear and absolutely ends his day. And he started pole, was leading the race, had that illegal lane change before start finish, and it put him in the bag, and now he has honestly nothing to show for the second race, and that's disappointing to say the least.
Definitely is. We come back live. I'm a little surprised that the 88 did not come to pit road. I mean, I know we're halfway through, but
he's not the only one up there, though. The 28 is still also on tires. I believe Tate Lytle is also still on old tires. So out of the top 5, it's Ethan Barrell and Chad Frankenfield that have the freshest tires, but Chad's stuck in 4th, and he's going to be presumably either behind Ethan or Joshua Adams. And the rest of the guys are all kind of even right now. So, you know, Joshua Adams was running, I think, 12th or so before he stayed out. And if everyone else out here is kind of on an even tires, he's now 2nd, might fall back a spot or 2 more, and, you know, a couple 5-10 more laps, I think you'll see everyone come back down pit road. So it's a huge net gain of positions overall.
Definitely, that's a very good point. As it looks like we will probably, I'm assuming, get the 1 to green this time around. Looks like Ethan Barrell's already played his hand that he's going to start on the inside line, which kind of surprises me because the last couple of times when he's restarted 2nd, he's been on the outside line, and he's had a really good entry into turn 1 and been able to close up on whoever's the leader at the time. At one point it was Lutz, the other time we just saw it was Joshua Adams, so a little surprised he's not taking the outside line for this restart, but obviously he knows what his car is capable of doing.
Yeah, I think he's just confident that he's going to be able to get a good start with those fresher tires and clear Joshua Adams by start finish to move up and get the arc into the corner. But the lights are out on the pace car, so they will be coming back green this time by. And what do you do if you're Joshua Adams? You have fresh tires beside you, fresh tires behind you.
Yeah, I kind of think that you kind of hope that a hole's going to open up down low for you to be able to tuck in, maybe in 3rd, maybe in 4th, dependent on if you can find a gap or not. But it'll be interesting to see just how much of a gap with the fresher tires Ethan Barrell's able to have as he brings us back to the green. Just make sure you don't lane change, 37. There you go.
And Barrell got a huge jump on that start. The 28 of Joshua Clark's actually going for 2nd on Adams here. Chad's already down below and on the low line for 4th. So I think he's just going to kind of let them get it sorted out and try and pick them off as they get single file again. But really, Ethan Barrell got a really good start, and we have another caution.
We do. I was going to say about Chad Frankenfield that with fresher tires, just how aggressive he might be with these guys on older tires. I had to remember he's won the first heat race here tonight. He's got 2 wins in a row. He's basically now just going out for playoff points. So I thought he might maybe think about 3 wide with these guys as...
Looks like
this yellow flag
for the 54 of Rishov Kosla.
Phoenix or ISM has not been kind to him here today. He had issues back in the first heat race, was caught up in that wreck in the closing stages, and now brings out the 5th caution of the evening here in the second heat race.
Yeah, it looks like he got the wall exiting turn 2. It threw him to the inside. He was trying to drive it the entire time and save it, and it just got the inside wall with the left rear, and it whipped him around and brought it to yellow.
Yep, goes down. Little contact there, perhaps, with the left rear quarter panel. Fires the car back up, continues on. Almost collected up, I believe that was the 91 of Austin Beers. Of the 54 spinning across his nose. But all season long, Rishav Kosla is used to project cars. This is his first time over on iRacing, so definitely a learning curve here today at the not-so-banked ISM Raceway.
Yeah, we saw him last week at Sebring for really his first race, and I think that was maybe a bit better of a track to switch from Project Cars to iRacing from, as Project Cars is definitely more of a road course circuit kind of experience, so it translated a bit better there. We saw him running good, got into a couple issues late, and didn't quite have the finish I think that he could have got out of it based off of practice or qualifying speed. But coming to your first oval, and it being ISM Raceway, is definitely tough, and I think he's just out there trying to learn as much as he can.
I think you're definitely right. I think he's, at this point, I think he's going to the tracks that play to his strengths. That's when he shows up. The other tracks, it's basically he's going to school. Learn how the track is like, figure out its characteristics. If you survive, great. You can use that data for later on down the road at other tracks of similar configuration. So I think that that's definitely what they're doing for that 54 team. And I mean, you look at him coming into the point standings too. It's obviously been a learning curve for him, but he's been doing pretty doggone well, running up 5th in the point standings. So while he struggled at a couple of tracks, he's still at least been able to leave with a decent result, obviously with some good experience. And still, it could be with the fact that we've only gone, if we count the heat race that we had here, the first heat race, we've only had 5 races this season, 3 different winners. It's very likely we could end up seeing some drivers make it into the playoffs via points through consistency.
Yeah, you always got to look for consistency in any kind of playoff format, playoff chase, anything like that. Because typically when you have a guy that wins, they're typically going to win more than one race, just because if they're winning races, they're the best in the field. And typically the best in the fields tend to win more races. But yeah, I think for that 54 car, he just needs to stick with it. He's looked good on road courses. He was doing all right tonight. It's just, ISM's a tricky track to come to for one of your first ovals. It's so flat. The corners are different, the dog leg, everything about it. So, just take it as it is for a learning night. It's a shame that this happened to him, but we're getting ready to restart, Seth.
Yes, we are. Lights are out atop the pace car, getting ready to go back green. I want to take a look back there at 4th and 5th. That's where you find our 2-time winners now at this point, Chad Frankenfield and Tyler Riggs. So the gauntlet's been thrown down. Who's going to be the first one to 3 wins between those two? Ethan Burrell's obviously been the class of the field. Let's see if we can get another good restart here with little less than 20 to go.
He took off really early, and he's going to be gone again from Joshua Adams. Gets up to the high side, arcs into turn 1, leaving Joshua Adams and Joshua Clark battling for second place again, while Chad is just there in 4th, looking to take advantage.
Chad this time not able to really get down to the bottom, so he had Tyler Riggs there, possibly looking to make a challenge for 4th place. Still side by side between the 88 and the 28. Looks like maybe Adams going to be able to get the outside line going and clear for 2nd down the front stretch.
He does. That top side of the track proves really good right now for Joshua Adams. He clears for 2nd. Chad Frankenfield in 15 is actually going to follow him through. Gets a little high off of 2 though, and lets the 28 get back to the inside and really race him into 3.
I don't know if it's the fact that with the lower temperatures, these drivers have a little bit more grip, so they feel they can take turn 2 a little bit faster, but Frankenfield, we saw Leniger, we've seen a lot of drivers go up there and almost pound that outside wall off the 2nd corner.
Yeah, it definitely can be one of those tracks that are misleading when you have this much grip, but we see the 15 clear the 28 finally off of turn 4 and turn 2, and now he's going to go chase down Joshua Adams for 2nd, and then possibly Ethan Barrow for the lead, who we saw them get into it last race.
I don't know, if we gave an award for the driver that goes the lowest through the back straightaway apron, I think it'd be the 15 car. He's almost down touching that inside wall as he's trying to make up as much ground as possible. Got to battle back here for around the 6th, 7th, 8th position. That's Tate Lytle, Andrew Rucker right behind him. Gerald Campbell's back there as well. And also up here in the top 10, a driver we didn't talk much about in the first heat race. How about M. Daniel Martinez in that Coca-Cola Toyota Supra?
Right there in 9th. And Matthew Weeks, who last race did not have the greatest of runs, and here he is in 10th.
Definitely a great run for him. We saw him basically with no hood after getting caught up in that wreck at the closing stages of the first heat race. One thing I'm noticing,
Adams has caught Ethan Barrow and is possibly going past him. Wow, that was close to turn 3. What happened to
contact.
Ethan Barrel?
I don't know, because I was looking at the interval, and all of a sudden it closed up to less than a tenth of a second. I thought, what in the world's going on?
Joshua Adams is also looking like he's almost going to clear him here. As he does, he's going to drive down the dog leg. He should be clear of him entering turn 3.
I don't know what it is, but it looks like the 37 can't quite get a good exit off of 2. That's the second time in the last 2 laps he's exited turn 2 on the high side, hasn't driven it down to that apron.
Trying to see if he has any right front damage that would be hurting that car for turning, but you know, these two side by side, look who is brought right into the battle for the lead now, the 15 of Chad Frankenfield.
We got a car almost spinning. That's Andrew Rucker. He's gonna save it. Oh, that was a great save down there in the apron of the back stretch. Everybody was able to clear him. We're still green.
That was a really good save, but he lost a lot of positions in doing that. But we stay green. Wow, they're really going for it for the lead here. Joshua Adams just about was not clear of Chad Frankenfield coming off turn 4, but cleared himself anyways. And honestly, it does look like Joshua Adams has a better car.
Really does. Yeah, I'm very surprised. I mean, we mentioned the fact he's got slightly older tires than the 37.
Oh,
but
he
right
bumps
there.
him a little too hard, gets into him. Even though he's going to make Chad go around, and that's going to hand the lead to Joshua Adams in the 88.
Holy cow, what a save, and somehow we're not under yellow.
Wow, what a save by Ethan Barrel, but I guarantee if he gets back to that 88 car, there will be another one coming. That was not the cleanest of passes at all by Joshua Adams, but you know what? He hasn't made too many starts. He missed last week. He's got a playoff spot on the line here if he can go out and win this race.
Definitely does. I mean, I think that there might have been a little bit of contact before they even got into turn 3. It looked like he tried to slide up behind the 37. They made a little contact there, and then the follow-up contact going into turn 3. Tremendous save by Ethan Burrell. Tremendous job by the top 3 to even give each other enough room for him to be able to gather that car back up. But yeah, loses the track position. And again, kind of like we saw earlier on with Lutz, dominated the race, and then all of a sudden, circumstances, he finds himself losing spots, found himself towards the rear of the field, got involved in a wreck, and now Ethan Burrell's back and forth with about 10 laps to go, less than 10 to go, 9 to go now at the line.
Yeah, we're closing in on the end of the race here. I think that's why Joshua Adams was doing what he was doing. I doubt he meant to get into him that hard, but these cars can be so touchy, and so touchy. And remember, the Super's got that little kick out on the front of the nose where maybe that's all it took to send him around. But I'm really impressed right now with Joshua Adams. He was able to get the lead, and the 15 of Chad Frankenfield's got some fresher tires, but he can't quite get inside or outside of them.
Frankenfield right now is surging. He's been going a couple groups higher. You see right there, both of them take a slightly higher exit off of turn 2. I think he's definitely looking to maybe make a move down here in 3 and 4. He keeps running about a half groove higher. You see right there, he's trying to get the clean air to the nose, trying to get better straightaway speed. Cuts it down to the yellow line coming off of turn 4, and that might actually gain him some straightaway speed. I think it might be, if he's going to make a move, I think he's looking at 3 and 4.
It's hard to say. I think looking at it, I think the 15 is better in 1 and 2, while Joshua Adams is better in 3 and 4. You can see him kind of open up the gap a little bit on 3 and 4 compared to 1 and 2. And I don't know. I think I'd rather be better in 3 and 4. Just there's that straightaway. You have turn 1 as the heavier braking zone, but I don't know.
Who's then able to work his way up into the 3rd position. Tyler Riggs was able to get by Ethan Burrell, so he's right now in the final podium spot. Burrell in 4th, and going to be a good points day for Tate Lytle. He may not win this race, but it's going to be back-to-back top 5 runs here at ISM in the 2 heat races, so definitely bringing a very good car here today for that 56 team.
Yeah, you can't be too mad about that. And look at the battle for 6 right now. Jared Campbell and M. Daniel Martinez. Gerald and Joshua Adams last race got into it a couple times, and here they both are in the top 6.
A great run there for the 31 after we saw him have some early issues here in this heat race as well, so able to fight his way back up here towards the front. You've also got a good battle back there. It's actually an exchange for the 8th position. Austin Beers getting around Dallas Myhand. I'll move Myhand back to the 9th position. And the older tires for Joshua Clark. He's still hanging on currently in that 10th spot, but he's got Andrew Rucker challenging him for that position. Move back up to the front. Little daylight right now, maybe 2.5, 3 car lengths between the 88 and the 15, as we are about 3.5 laps away from the checkered flag.
Yeah, we're coming to 3 laps to go, and the gap last lap was almost 0.4 of a second, so Chad Frankenfield's got to start cutting that gap down if he's going to do anything. But that lap there, Joshua Adams actually ran about half of a tenth quicker. I'm surprised. I don't think Joshua Adams has pit for tires at all this race, while Frankenfield did on about lap 15.
We're going to have to see. I mean, Frankenfield obviously wants to leave with a good points day, but as he mentioned in his post-race interview from Heat 1, he's looking for playoff points, and playoff points come when you win races. So we'll see if he's able to close the gap up. 2 laps remaining. Visibly, it looks like the gap may be increasing just a little bit.
It definitely is. Again, that lap about half of a tenth quicker of Joshua Adams. And honestly, half a second back going into the white flag, I don't think he's going to catch him. So we could be looking at another first-time winner this season, and let alone someone that I think is really, really quick and needs to be looked out for.
He was definitely a player early on at Richmond. It looks like Kendall Noah Player is going to get out of the way. I think Damian Leniger is up ahead. I'm sure he'll get out of the way of the race leaders. As for one last time down the back straightaway, still about 5 car lengths in hand. Looks like we're going to have our 4th different winner on the season, as it's going to be Joshua L. Adams coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, Joshua Adams, you know, that redemption from that first race where he was running good, comes back and wins heat number 2 over Chad Frankenfield, and was actually quicker than him at the end of the race. I was really surprised by that. Tyler Riggs, though, comes home P3. Ethan Barrell, P4. And I don't know if he's too happy about that.
Let's watch the 37, see if he gets up here to the 88. It doesn't look like he's going to come up here and rattle his cage at all. Be interesting to see if maybe further on down the line here this season between those two.
Yeah, for sure. I think that might be something to watch, but maybe Ethan understands the fact that he was going for a playoff spot, and you know, he didn't lose too many spots. Obviously not the race win or the top 2 or anything that you would have wanted, but
Joshua L. Adams is going to become the 4th different winner on the season, so slowly but surely the playoff field starting to take shape. Chad Frankenfield's going to have to settle for 2nd place. I go back to Adams. We saw him pound at the inside safer bear in the closing stages of the first, about turning it around.
Yeah, Joshua Adams was part of the
And
guys
we
that
are
was
gonna-
involved in that big last lap wreck in heat race number 1. And, you know, come back and win, and that's all you need. That's it right there. It doesn't matter how that first race went at all. Now, Joshua Adams just punched a ticket to the playoffs.
Definitely did. And so right now we know it's going to be Adams, Frankenfield, Riggs, and Kendall Noah Player who have made it in via victories. Ways to go in the season. Looking here at the finishing results, you've got Tyler Riggs there in 3rd. So obviously with Frankenfield winning the first heat race, finishing 2nd in the 2nd heat race, he'll probably have the points lead going into Twin Ring Motegi next week. But I think the points will still be pretty close between the two of them, with Riggs finishing 3rd. Ethan Burrell's going to finish in 4th. A lot of people will probably say he should have won this race, but still a good points day. Tate Lytle back-to-back top 5s here in these heat races. And you look at the rest of the finishing results here, and a couple of drivers that maybe we talked about bits and pieces in the first heat race, but good runs here tonight in the 2nd heat race. Austin Beers in 6th, Jared Campbell there in 7th, M. Daniel Martinez. I'd have to look back, but I think this might be his first top 10 of the season, with Dallas Myhand and Andrew Rucker completing your top 10.
Yeah, I think overall, this race was a lot cleaner than the first one.
Definitely. And I think that it might be because of the lower track conditions. I mean, everybody was struggling with their cars, slipping and sliding around in the first heat race. I think the cooler track conditions allowed for more grip. Drivers were more comfortable going into the corners double wide. And I think that's why we were able to see far less cautions and some pretty good racing under green.
Yeah, I think the cooler temps for sure, like you were saying, definitely played a big part of that. I was impressed the first time when Joshua Adams stayed out and was able to hold back Ethan Barrell for as long as he did. But even more impressively was after a couple more cautions, he ran down Ethan Barrell and was able to ultimately get past him, not in the cleanest of fashions, but he did what he had to do for a playoff spot.
Interesting too. I've just been notified, and this actually is true as well. that both winners tonight, fun stat of the night, both winners wrecked the 37 car and ended up going on to win the race. It was Ethan Burrow going off the nose of Frankenfield in Heat 1, Ethan Burrow off the nose of Adams in this one. So kind of ironic circumstances there.
That's not the most fun stat to have if you're Ethan Barrel, though.
Oh, we're not. We're waiting to be able to interview our top three. I think we do have Tyler Riggs waiting, so we'll bring him in. Well, Tyler, a little bit calmer second heat, but obviously a great run for you here tonight in third place. We unfortunately weren't able to interview you in the first heat race, but talk about the conditions, the changing conditions between the first heat race and the second heat race, and how it might have allowed you guys to maybe be able to have a longer green flag run like we saw.
Well, the first race really, you're looking at really hot, slick conditions, which makes it tough for everybody because you're slipping around no matter what. You got to kind of just roll with that, be easy on the throttle. And as what that does is people are going to be, calmer by themselves, so to speak, because they don't want to spin out. But when they're racing side by side, they're not ready to slip, under somebody, and that's why you saw a lot of people spinning each other out in the first race, just because people are going to slip around. Second race with the cooler temps, now you're looking at a lot of grip, so people could race side by side without necessarily driving out hard into somebody or worrying about slipping up as hard. But it did create also a couple instances where guys probably thought they had more grip than what they had, pushed it too far off the corner and self-spun. So that's kind of your balance here between the conditions. Fun race both ways, though.
One thing that we saw in the first heat race was it looked like at least mid-pack towards the rear of the field, the fresher tires definitely came into play. It seemed like up at the front track position, whether you had 2 tires, 4 tires actually was the deciding factor. With the cooler track conditions, did tire wear and having fresher tires come into play at all, or was it really a track position game as well?
Oh, definitely with the cooler temps, it was by far more of a track position game. With the hotter temps, the only reason I really thought, track position mattered there over the tires was the fact that it was such a short race. If we would got a decent 20 lap run, tires are going to really matter at that point. But just because of how that one played out with the cautions, it was really tough to make any positions whether you had tires or not, because you just didn't get a big run in.
You were running, I believe, in the 4th position at the time. Don't really, off the top of my head, remember how far back you were, but were you able to, in any way, figure out what was going on ahead of you, the contact between the 37 and the 88 in that battle for the lead?
Yeah, and if some people might get mad at me for saying this, but it's an embarrassment that Ethan had that fast of a car and both times pretty much got taken out while leading. I mean, that's just, for a dude that won the championship last season, he should be given that respect, and it really disappoints me to see him not really given that respect. So, yeah, I kind of figured once I saw him sideways, he did a great job of saving it. I just tried to go high, tried to read where he was spinning down to. So, because of that, I was able to kind of just get through it, get up to 4th, and make a move on Clark to get that 3rd spot. So it worked out.
So I was talking about this during the broadcast. Now I'm going to ask you, with Frankenfield picking up the win in the first heat race. Now you and he are tied for most wins in the season. Obviously, your guys' goal is to be continuing to go for wins, rack up those playoff points. So the gauntlet's been thrown down. Now is basically the goal to try and be the first one to 3 wins here in this league.
Yeah, yes and no for me. I mean, I've already matched my win total from last season. So at this point, I'm just trying to run good, like you said, rack up as many playoff points as I could get. If I don't get another win to the playoffs, hey, it is what it is. I just want to have good, consistent finishes. Try to compete for wins as much as I can, and I gotta let the rest of that decide itself out. There's going to be weeks where guys like Chad, or maybe it's Ethan one week, or a different person that's just, you're not going to be able to touch them on speed. And that's fine. And we'll work with that. And I'll try to, I've got a few more tracks, I'm sure, on the schedule that I should be, in contention speed wise for the win. I really thought tonight, especially in that second heat, if I would have had more time, I could have got up there and had some for Chad or Adams. But with the way it worked out, it was just, tough to make up time in that short of amount of a run.
I hear you. Bronson, you got anything for Tyler?
Yeah, real quick. After the first race, I believe Chad Frankenfield took the points lead from you. What do you do from here on out? Do you just kind of stick with your consistent plans and try and get that back? Does it really matter too much to you, or just, you were saying just, obviously you want to go for more wins and just be consistent, but I'm not quite sure if there's any bonus points for being regular season leader or not, but you guys have been going so far back and forth all season. Do you go back for that points lead?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my philosophy every race, no matter what track we're at, is to make sure that I am obviously prepared for the track and that I'm running a smart race. And I always preach, whether it's to my guys or just in general, put yourself in a spot to win the race. If it doesn't always mean you have to have the top speed. Some weeks, like I said, you're not going to have the fastest time. So just putting yourself in the right spots and making good decisions ultimately should put me in some spots to win races. And if I could capitalize, great. If not, as long as I finish, in that top 3 in points, I think there is a bonus. So, just try to get those playoff points and make the Final Four. That's really what it's about.
All right. Well, we're going to give you the opportunity here. Does anybody want to shout out or thank here?
Yeah, I mean, just all my PRM guys. They kind of had. I was kind of, I guess, one of the like ones. They didn't quite have the speed tonight. The rest of them, but they fought. They tried to make the best of it, and I appreciate them for trusting me and Josh to help them develop, because that's really what we tried to do. And they're a good group of guys, so I always got to shout them out. And just obviously, you guys for hosting everything. And as far as broadcast goes, even though sometimes things can be crazy in this league, I enjoy it. So got to thank Chad and them there for that. And my boy Joshua Personet, co-owner and big time official in this league, does a lot behind the scenes that doesn't get recognized enough. So that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Well, congrats on your 3rd place run. We look forward to seeing you next week at Twin Ring Motegi. I'm still trying. For some reason, it doesn't roll off my tongue very well. But
don't worry, I couldn't say it either. You're good.
I'm not looking forward to next week. I'm just going to be calling it Motegi just to save myself the pain. But look forward to seeing you there. Hope you continue on the consistent runs and wish you luck there.
Thank you so much, fellas. Catch you later.
Right. Currently, the other 2 drivers are race winner Adams and 2nd place finishing Frankenfield. We do not have them yet on standby, so we're not able to get interviews with them just yet. I don't know if they're going to be hopping in for us to be able to give them interviews or not. Obviously, we had an interview earlier with Frankenfield winning the first heat race, but let's go back. And that we've gotten a chance to kind of settle down, calm down, observe what went on. The move there between the 88 and the 37. What do you think? Legal, not legal?
Yeah,
it was too early to make that move.
That's always such a hard one to say. Now,
it's such a gray area.
It is. It's such a gray area. The 37 saved it, and I think that helps make it a little bit better of a move from Joshua Adams. And it's when you're playoff racing, getting a win like that means so much. And you really almost just see red when you have a chance to get it. But at the same time, like Tyler Riggs was saying, he feels that Ethan Barrell, last season's champion, deserves more respect, stuff like that. And that's another thing that always comes into it is, do you really care how much or like what someone thinks of you as how you're going to race them? Because now you have to expect them to race you the same way. And it's just such a gray area between, it's not, I think, a question of legal or illegal. It's more of a, can you live with it, and can you live with possibly the consequences that follow?
I definitely agree with you, and I think we kind of set the table before we even started the race, the first heat race. The fact that we had 2 50-lap heats. This was going to be an opportunity for drivers to be able to get up there in 50 laps, take a checkered flag, put themselves in the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. Every race, I think he's been in now 5 of the 6 races this season. Ethan Burrell, he's got race-winning caliber cars. He's a race-winning caliber driver. We mentioned him being a former champion. He's going to win a race during this regular season. I have no doubt. So I think that with him being ahead of Joshua Adams, I think that Joshua Adams saw him as a threat. He realized the 37 had a really good car. he was going to have to somehow be able to pass him. I don't think he necessarily wanted to wreck him, but I think he wanted to be able to move him out of the way to get that spot. You look at the two of them coming into this race in the point standings too, and I think that kind of also comes into play on why Barrow was raced so hard. Ethan Barrow is third in the point standings. We've already talked about there's the possibility we're going to see drivers through consistency get into the playoffs via points. But you look at Joshua L. Adams, he only had one start at Richmond prior to this. It was a DNF. He's 38th in the point standings. You look at the two of them and who needed the win more points-wise, it would have been that 88 car. So I think that might have also come into play. And you bring up a great point as well. He moved him out of the way. He slowed down, allowed Burl to be able to recover it and keep, in the top 5. It wasn't like he completely finished him and completely spun him around. So I don't see that as it was on purpose. I think he realized, I made contact with him. I didn't want to wreck him, gave him the chance to recover. So I honestly don't see a whole lot of problem with that as well. Obviously, Ethan Burl leading the race, dominating the race there in the second heat, was leading the race in the first heat. He's going to have a different opinion, but with what I saw going on there, I don't think this is a rivalry that's going to carry its way down the continuation of the season.
Yeah, for sure. It's early in the season. There's a lot of time left. It's just still one of those things where maybe there's something set up now because you never really know what's going on behind either driver's heads. And I will say from personal experience, I've been in the position Ethan Barrell has been against exactly from Joshua Adams. We've raced together several times, and he dumped me one time from the lead at Bristol, and I was not too happy about it as it was for the race win with about 20 laps to go. And I'm pretty sure he went on and won that race as well. So I definitely see where Tyler Riggs is coming from, where Ethan Barrow's coming from, and you definitely don't have the best feeling. But by the time next week comes by, do you still have those feelings?
I mean, with racing online in 2003, it's really strange. You talk with your friends and everything, but then when you get on track, you don't see them as friends. They're your competitors. So it's an entirely different mindset when you're out there on the racetrack. But yeah, I mean, more of this later on. Maybe we'll have some kind of a story to bring into Motegi next week. But honestly, I don't think there's really going to be much that culminates from this. But we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like we're not going to be able to interview either Frankenfield or race winner Adams here for this second heat. So we're probably going to wrap this broadcast up here. 2 wild heats. The first race was, I think chaotic's the understatement. We had the caution flag glitch. The pace car did not want to get out on the track. We had a number of cautions. Obviously, grip level was rather low. But Frankenfield, with good track position, was able to take the win there. We had an exciting run here in the second heat race between pretty much the top 3, which at the time were Adams, Frankenfield, and Burrow. You could put a blanket over all 3 of them. We had some pretty good long green flag runs as well. So it was kind of like 2 entirely different races.
Yeah, and I think that happens all the time when you have 2 races on the same night. You always get one that's a little bit more hectic or unpredictable, and I think the first heat definitely played that part, while the second one was way more tame. We saw a lot more side-by-side racing, and I think it's just the difference of the weather. They had so much more grip that second race. They were able to put the car on 2 lines at a time, and really just, you were able to run side-by-side without pushing really hard up into someone. You were able to even get the wall a little bit and still race. So I definitely think the second race was the better of the 2, but man, that first race was definitely interesting.
Definitely was. So race 4.5 and race 5 are in the books. I guess that's how we'll call it, how we'll score it. Next week, we're going to see you guys for the 6th race of the season, which I believe is going to be the halfway point of the regular season as well, as we will be at Twin Ring Motegi. Bronson, thank you for joining me here this evening. Always a pleasure to have you in the booth. And thanks everybody that tuned into the stream as well. We will see you guys next week. And until then, thanks for tuning in to the broadcast here from the Flatout Racing Network.